cannot be serious!
It's Christmas.
Yep.
So what an extraordinary effort for you two to come in. This is above and beyond the call of duty, Ivan and Dick. Now
It is early.
Well, I don't know if you're pushing off to Christmas lunch later on or what you're doing. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Could be
so
messy.
first of all, the duck, Wayne Carey, he was going to be here, but he's got a brace of kids to look after and quite a few people who are the mothers of his kids. So he's doing the rounds in a limo. He's just dropping off presents, and I presume that's what he's doing. So
And you did that earlier this morning, didn't you, Sam? Of
oh,
course.
yes, so he's very apologetic that he couldn't come in. And the doc, Dr. Ben Fordham, I see Ivan has bought me a late birthday present, and it's got
It's not a visual medium.
it's a cap. It's called Ben Fordham Live. It's a baseball. It's a little more like one of our caps that has "You cannot be serious" on it.
We're in competition.
Yes, thank you very much for that. So the doc. We were going to ring the doc, but he's ensconced up at some place, I think, just down from where the Prime Minister bought a $4 million property.
Avoca, is it?
No, what?
Avoca, is it the name of it?
Don't think so.
No.
I don't know. Anyhow, the doc, so good on him, the doc. So welcome, happy Christmas to the doc. And Mick Christian, menswear.com, he said he's sold out completely of the caps.
Oh, dear.
The You Cannot Be Serious caps for Christmas. So people,
Would the
when
staff-
they open,
The staff, would they get a bonus this year from Michael Christian?
What the
Yeah,
the sweatshop kids?
Yeah, sweatshop
who are-
kids.
Would they
An
get
extra
something?
$5, Sam?
The 8 and 9-year-olds who are working 24 hours a day making them.
Mick could be a good boss
For
wouldn't
us and Adidas and Nike and us, of course, over
Apple.
in the Philippines. Apple, yeah. And Greg Evans was scheduled to come on, but he's ensconced up in his country manor, and so is Craig Willis. So we've got not a skeleton staff, but we've got
It is the killing season, as the doc says.
the what?
The killing season in the media. So
Yeah,
maybe-
yes.
I thought maybe you've killed them off, have you? These
And then
people?
we interviewed, so we've pre-recorded this, we interviewed the great Nikki Whelan, who was what would you call Nikki Whelan? She was an actress. That's exactly what she was. And she went over to the States, and she's come back, and we had a good chat to her about life over in America, and she got married to a NFL footballer, and we asked her how that went.
How'd it go?
Well, it obviously didn't go that well because she's didn't last that long, but that was it. That's I can speak voluminously about things that don't last if you get married. So we had a good chat to her, and that's now I'm going to play you this. I'm fixed on this. You might notice that I'm fixed on this.
Is this Trump?
No, this is not Trump. I want to play you this. This to me is tantamount to ISIS, the Taliban. This is radicalising the youth of today against probably their parents' knowledge or their wishes, and people taking it on themselves to fill kids up with bullshit that they don't understand, and I'm not sure that many people understand that this is going on. So I'm going to try and play it for you. Haven't recorded it very well, but I'm going to play it, and I'll read out the words. This is played by people in preschool to kids.
Preschool.
Well, kids.
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Well, sort of kindergarten.
Grade 1 or 2.
All right.
Someone sent me this because they went to pick up their child.
And this was going on.
This was going on. They said they didn't realise this was going on. So
Unbelievable.
So I'll just play this, and I'll read out the words while I'm playing it. Hope I can do this properly. Hang on. Where am I? Hang on. Is that it? Just a minute.
I notice he doesn't wear glasses.
We sing a little song. that's a song that
The Manson family, was it, Sam?
that's a song that that the people who educate your kids at preschools or kindergarten or take it on themselves to have the kids sing who would have no idea what they're singing about. It said, we sing a little song acknowledging the people of this land. We try and touch the sky down low, and we touch the ground that we play on. Put your hand on your heart, say thank you to the elders, past, present and emerging, and then they yell out some word they have no idea what it means, Rurran Dunjunji or something. So all that is fine. We want to respect and acknowledge everyone in this land, but to brainwash, that's radicalising kids who have no idea what they're being taught.
It sounded cult-like, didn't you think?
It is a pretentious people, pretentious, virtuous people taking it on themselves to churn out this crap.
But this would be just, hopefully, this is just one kindergarten.
No, it goes.
No, it's everywhere, mate.
So
It's everywhere.
I asked my son.
It's an ideology.
This wasn't from his school, incidentally. I asked my son. He said, "Yep, that goes on." I said, "How did you know?" He said, "I turned up one day and the same thing happened." I wonder how many parents know that their kids are being filled up with by teacher. I don't know. Surely this is not right. That the government should say, keep your politics out of teaching our kids. If you have a jaundiced view of how this country works or what your politics are, whether they be right wing, left wing, whether you see if you can tell the kids how to spell, add up, do some arithmetic, have some manners, have some courtesy, and stop telling people and ramming it down their throat when you have no business to do it.
Usually they don't allow parents to get into the classroom.
And this is what I'm saying.
This is why you get these radical, because they've been indoctrinated since they were 5 years old with this rubbish.
So this person who sent me this said he didn't know this was going on, and it's just not a big deal. But the arrogance and the pomposity of the people who get the kids there and get them to have no idea what they're singing about or why. It's just making
think of the controversy.
People feel virtuous who do it, who have no right to do it.
If the right wing were doing it, if there's like some, Donald Trump is fantastic, if they're teaching like Donald Trump is fantastic, everything he says is right or something, if they're teaching that to five people who are 5 years
There'd be
old,
uproar.
There'd be uproar. I mean,
Absolutely.
you would never hear the end of it.
So we say this, I say this in the light of, and I mentioned this before, and this is why the hypocrisy, and Michael Warner pointed this out when he wrote a book about the hypocrisy of the AFL, and he'd also wrote a book about the men's club, the boys' club with the AFL. So we mentioned last week that a bloke called, and I checked this out to make sure that this is not AI or people filling us up with nonsense.
Yep.
This is a bloke called Benedict Stevens, who, if you remember, I told you attacked his girlfriend with a Aboriginal tool.
That's it.
And beat her over the head.
What's an Aboriginal tool, Sam?
Well, it was a
Stick?
a poking stick or some sort of stick.
They didn't have many tools, did they?
And he had to step down from being a liaison officer at the Alice Springs Hospital, but he retained his position on the council under the name of community issues. One of them was domestic violence. Could you believe it? He still has his job at the council, and one of his duties is investigating domestic violence.
Oh, wow.
This is the man that 2 days before he was sentenced, and he was given a 6 months good behaviour bond.
Mm-hmm.
He did Welcome to Country at an AFL game, and so the hypocrisy of this nonsense goes on. It's like in 2022 we did a tribute, because I was at the ground, Geelong and Swans grand final. We did a tribute to a bloke called Uncle Jack.
Yep.
This was on the same day that they did a tribute to the late Alan Aylett, who was the president of the AFL. They put him up on the screen and did a
crickets.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
You're not going to take this, are you? Well, tell the person
Hello.
who.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Just a
I have
minute.
to tell you this. Oh, fucking! Why doesn't that go on? Hey, can you hear me? Hang on, mate. Oh, headset.
Oh, yeah.
Headset.
Oh,
Hello. Can you
Hello,
hear me?
Daniel.
yes.
I'm very sorry, Kevin, but I rang you earlier when I was off air. We're on a podcast at the minute.
Sorry.
I didn't ring you up to have you on the podcast, but you've rung while we're doing it. So I just rang. This is the great Kevin Sheedy. I'm here with Ivan and Dick. Doesn't matter who they are, but I'm here with Ivan and Dick. And I rang you to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you very kindly, Sir Sam. Good to hear your voice.
It is your birthday,
And your
isn't it?
birthday. I'm just taxed away behind you, coming up along the straight with you hitting 80, and I'm 77. So it's good to be still talking, actually.
Yeah, well, it is. So, as I say, I didn't spring this on you. I did ring you off air, and then you rung back while the Bluetooth was on, so it came through the headphones. So that's why I'm speaking to you. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Very good. Amazing little bit of weather running around Melbourne these days, isn't it?
It is extraordinary. It's meant to be 40 one day, and it's 12 today.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the only winner is the garden.
Well, anyhow, my friend, we saw you just at caught up with you the other day at a function.
Neurocheck.
A what?
Concussion group.
That's correct, and
Concussion group, yep.
you spoke very well at that. So anyhow, this sounds. People will have no idea what I'm talking about. So I'm just wishing you happy birthday, and I'm ringing off, and all the best to you.
Thank you very kindly, and cheers to everybody that is listening. Have a happy and healthy Christmas. Kev Sheedy.
The great Kevin Sheedy. Thank you, my friend.
The legend.
Well, sorry about that. That was just, I did ring him off here, and I got caught because you hope if no one else rings in. Where did I get to? Oh, yeah, so this was at 2022.
Yep.
We stopped. We had 3 references to Welcome to Country. We did the Welcome to Country on the ground, and then we stopped for 7 minutes while we did a eulogy to a bloke called Uncle Jack, who'd been to prison. He'd stolen stuff. He'd been up on drugs charges. These are the people that we're paying
Just an
homage
everyday
to.
citizen.
And there's plenty of us, me included, who have transgressed and done things. But we don't have eulogies at grand finals. We don't get paid $1,500 to do Welcome to Country when we have a checkered career. It is extraordinary, and this is the competition, the AFL, that stops people like Wayne Carey, who is a legend of the game, being given legend status up in New South Wales to be a legend because he's had some run-in with his girlfriend of the time. He said one thing about it and she said the other, and that's fine. Somewhere in between's the truth. But he hasn't had any charges laid against him for anything, except I think he said he pushed a couple of coppers out of his flat when they came in, and they charged him with assault.
But getting back to the Aboriginal in Alice Springs, the community guy who would paid to do a welcome to ceremony, if that was some other culture or some other race, they'd be up in arms. They'd say,
Why is there such a
why can you have a person sprouting all this domestic violence to us?
So
it's like having Rolf Harris talk to children, you know what I mean?
So the point of all this is that I mentioned when I was here and a previous person on this podcast, I said the Welcome to Country's got out of hand. It was a tongue-in-cheek throwaway line which was picked up. I said we should boo every time Welcome to Country at an AFL game. Just show your displeasure that this nonsense goes on because it's a hoax. And then people like Tony Jones jumped up and down and got nice and virtuous, and I went into the radio and he had a conniption about me saying that, and the bleeding heart about all this. So I wonder if he's ever mentioned about Benedict Stevens belting his missus with a Aboriginal tool.
But it is dropping off, isn't it? Welcome to Country.
The mood in the country has changed, hasn't it? You know what I mean? And I think Sam's led the way in many ways. As one of the most outspoken celebrities who's actually stood up to this bullshit.
Then this is not we're not trying to downgrade our friends who are Indigenous. What we're trying to say is stop playing us for fools by saying that we acknowledge all this stuff, because everyone's made the country, and we're all Australians. And thank heavens, the Storm have led the way as far as sporting bodies go. And I don't think they did it before the Test match in Sydney.
They didn't do it before the supercars.
They don't for the super. So people
They're beginning to stop.
They're
Yeah,
beginning to stop, and and you have, as I say, teachers radicalising kids at schools with all this nonsense about them, and they have no idea what they're singing, and it's the government or people who run the education department should say, tell the teachers, don't.
Well, they're telling them. They're the ones telling them to do it. You can be sure, because they're all overrun by this new left-wing agenda, this diversity, equity and inclusion, and, this kind of radical cultural Marxism,
Anyhow, so there we are. That's your
20 cents worth?
That's my 20 cents worth.
I was watching a show, I don't know if this is relevant, but I was watching a show on the ABC. It was about Cyclone Tracy. It's 50 years in the next couple of days, the anniversary. And there was a small part in there where there's a woman who was there, and she said, 3 days after Cyclone Tracy, after the communications got out that it's a hell of a big problem up there, they decided to get all the residents out, 25,000. So they said, okay, women, children, the injured, will have to go out. Then the men will stay, and they'll stay for some time to help sort of rebuild and fix up the roads and that. So she said she was standing in line, in a line that goes off, the plane was going to go to Adelaide.
Yeah.
Some were going to Perth and everywhere. And she was standing there, and she noticed the people in front didn't actually quite look like women. They were fellas dressed up in dresses, and they had pillows around themselves to make them look pregnant.
Yep.
Anyway, the local copper come along the line, and he saw them straight away and said, out, get out. And they charged them. Don't know whether they did or not, but she said they were going to be charged.
Yep.
My question is, what would happen today?
A step ahead of you, I can see where this is
It's long-winded, but what the hell would happen today?
Interesting.
Yes, if you are signalling, if you're a trans person signalling as a woman, can you jump into the lifeboat and
On the
just
Titanic.
be rowed away
I'm
from
not
the
sure.
Titanic?
I don't know how that would work.
Well, these days, technically these days, they would have to let you on the boat.
They would technically have to let you on the boat.
Yep.
And,
Now, the ABC didn't explore that option.
No, because the ABC wouldn't do that. Hopefully Hugh Marks, I think, who has left Channel 9 and is going to take over, hopefully he will have some sanity into the... it's impossible to watch the ABC. They do more of this hands-on-the-ground stuff and eulogies to people who had no right to have eulogies sung about them or said about them. They do it. That is their charter. They are completely virtuous, feigned indignation of being on the planet here where we live. So you'll notice, and I'm happy to say this, you'll notice this too, Dickie, that Donald Trump said we are on the first day of him taking office, his executive order or whatever you call it, he is now declaring there are only two genders in America, male and female.
Which there are,
and if you attain the age of, if you become after the year of after you're 18 or 21, you can decide what you want to be. But if you're under 18, you will not be allowed to transgender by mutilating your body.
Exactly.
People won't be allowed to do it. You'll have to wait till you can make a decision for yourself. So there'll be two genders. There'll be no trans people in the armed forces. There'll be
the very fact we were tolerating
no people will be inducted on DEI, diversity, inclusion, and Equity. It'll be the meritocracy, and if the whole army is compiled of females, so be it.
Yep.
If they're the best people for the job, they'll be getting the jobs.
Yep. So he's getting rid of DEI, and the idea that we tolerated, this kind of. It's essentially genital mutilation of children, for under the Biden regime and probably before. It's just extraordinary, there's just no way that you can look at that ethically, consider that something that should be allowed to happen. So, thank God Trump has gotten in. And obviously this will have big effects, I think, that will echo over other countries. I think you'll see other European countries take this position.
Such
Even
as
the
the
UK,
yeah.
even the UK under Starmer, who's a left winger, is beginning to change his perspective on that. So, I mean, there is a certain common sense, that's coming, that's emanated from the Trump election. That's gone around the globe, and hopefully will even affect the Labor Party here. You know what I mean? And the Liberal Party as well. Because if Dutton wants to win, he's just got to copy Trump, and he'll be in like Flynn.
One thing that's going to happen on the first day of Trump's presidency, he said he will get the list of people who are on death row, and he'll start ticking them off. So if you've noticed, the last couple of days, Joe Biden has commuted 32 people's sentences,
child murderers and things like this,
to try and stifle Donald Trump on day one.
He wants to send them off to Buffalo.
Well, he said, why have a death row? Yep. Honestly, just start going through them. There's no point.
Let's go.
And of course, they're now saying you want to watch the people in the Biden government. Joe has been mentally retarded. And I use that term advisedly. Yep. His mental capacity has been retarded due to his senility. Mm-hmm. For 4 years since he became the president, and you want to see the people who are under him, all the senators saying, "Oh no, they didn't really notice it. They look down the camera and lie." And this is because they're being the country has been run by a man who had no idea where he was, who he was, what he was doing. Has been extreme embarrassment.
Well, if he
to
doesn't
that country and to us who are an ally of that country.
If he hasn't been running the country, as we know he hasn't, who has been running it? I mean, isn't that really shouldn't we ask? Because Biden was technically, I don't think he was elected in 2020, but he was, I guess, officially elected.
The leader of the free world.
So who the hell's actually been running the country?
Anyhow, we go on about this side of politics, and if this was an ABC podcast, there'd be people over there talking about how great he is. Yep. And I've said to plenty of people, and I'd say it again, if you'd like to come in and tell us that we don't know what we're talking about and have a go at us for any of our views, we'd love to do that because we would have a spirited conversation, but we'd love to have a conversation if you think we don't know. So I see he's on about climate change. He said he said we'll not be taking any notice of climate change. It's a fraud. It's bullshit.
I mean, that's incredible. No president has ever said that.
And this puts into the shade all the climate meetings they have at all the various places, and everyone stands there looking at the cow eyes and saying how much people they're just looking down the camera and saying it's a tragedy and the world's going to end. Well, they said the world was going to end a decade ago, didn't that stupid girl? What's her name?
Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunder Thighs. She said she said it was going to end in a decade. Well, that's 12 years ago.
Yeah, I know. And before him, Gore, Gore, he's running on
Al Gore.
Al Gore, he said we're all going to be underwater.
That's right.
I mean, Trump says that in 300 years it's going to raise like a centimetre.
And the bloke who looks like a horse, what's his name?
Carey. John Carey. Yeah, he's another deep state traitor.
They just keep on peddling this nonsense.
Yeah.
And
have you noticed too in the weather? If we have a day that's going to be like 30, they make out like the planet is burning alive.
Yes.
You see this all the time now.
We've got rain bombs.
Yeah.
Have you? And things like this.
The reporting on the weather has all been like hysteria-ized.
So what proves the lie is they say the weather is there's going to be more bushfires and it's going to be hotter and hotter. This is the hottest day since 1938.
Yeah.
And they say, well, if it's the hottest day since 1938, the weather was pretty hot back in 1938. So how is it suddenly becoming hotter?
Exactly. Exactly.
And so. And I can tell you this, so they said, Suzanne and I, we went up to Yarrawonga on last Sunday, and I said, this is on the way to Sydney.
It's nice up there.
Up the Hume Highway, and I said, I bet there's not many Teslas going up the Hume Highway. Where would they be going? And we stopped at Kyneton for a bit of a refuel. Just to get a bit of coffee and that, and I said to the man in the Tesla, I said, where you going? He said,
not far.
He said, I'm going to Albury. I said, Albury? He said, yeah, it'll get there. I said, it'll get there, will it? He said, yep. He said, no further, though. He said, so if I was going to Sydney, I wouldn't be able to take my car.
Yeah. You'd have to stay overnight somewhere.
Yeah. So,
it's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is. And then
And they pay like 70 or 80 grand for these things.
no, and they're all right, probably around the city because you don't have to pay for petrol and all that.
But who wants a car you can't take up the country? You know,
No,
drive
but-
to Sydney.
But you mightn't want to take the car up the country, and you mightn't want to pay for the petrol, and there's no fumes, and that's fair enough. But Trump's logic is that anyone's that's not.
Well, he's in a
it's not
dilemma.
The fumes that are making changing the climate and the planet. It's just the climate's changing. The planet's just changing its climate.
Well, his
Yeah.
right-hand man, Elon Musk, is the Tesla man.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's in a bit of a dilemma. Like, he can't have
Well,
his...
he's not completely against electric cars. If people want them, they can have them. But like, he's just gonna drill. He's gonna make America energy independent again.
He said
because
if
when you have
people
cheap
want
energy,
cars, of course, if you want electric cars, you can have one. But
Yeah.
if you want to have a petrol-driven car, like so that power the boats
Yep.
and the ships and the
Airplanes.
container ships and the airplanes and the industry and the tractors
Factories.
and the things that drill things. If you want to have all that, he said we need fossil fuels and we're going to
course.
drill for it. But if you want to have an electric vehicle, you go right ahead.
That's
but
what
we're not going
Dutton
to
should do.
mandate it that we're going to phase them out by the year 2035, and the only thing you'll be able to drive is an electric car.
Dutton should embrace that here because we have tremendous resources of oil and gas, and we could be energy independent in a few years. I mean, forget all this talk about nuclear. I mean, you know, nothing Australia does, even if you were to believe the climate hysteria, which is of course nonsense.
Do you know...
Nothing Australia could do would ever change it anyway because we're such a tiny contribution to global emissions anyway. Australia is so tiny, and we have over 1 billion trees in this country. I mean, we're carbon neutral already.
Our strategic reserve for the oil is held in America. So, yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, very
We could
weird.
change that as well. You know, Australia first. I mean, that's all Dutton's got to do, and he'll sweep into the next election so quick it'll be beyond a joke.
So you brought in a flyer here.
I
haven't
have.
seen this. Is this being dropped in people's letterboxes? And we wouldn't have been just dropped in your letterbox because
No.
it's a well presented flyer
On Dan Andrews.
on you know.
Dictator Dan.
Now, I
Former
brought
Dan.
I brought that in to work out whether that was just dropped in my letterbox.
Well, why would it be dropped in your?
They're targeting you,
it's
mate,
written
aren't
by. It's done www.bikeboy.com.au. It's a thing about Daniel Andrews call 000 call scandal. No, you don't call 000. I'll take that back. Don't call 000 for that. But it's called Daniel Andrews call scandal. About the lies that Daniel Andrews told so he could be the premier, and then about how he allegedly lied about.
So I was trying to work
boy,
out
Yeah.
who put it out.
Help
So-
Ryan to reveal the truth about the bike boy crash. So that's I don't that seems to be what? It's not Dan Andrews. What's not?
Oh no,
No, it's
absolutely
an
not.
enemy
Yeah.
of Dan Andrews, obviously, yeah.
No. Well, it says Dan Andrews call scandal. They want people to call in and say, mention many of the lies that the Andrews government told about everything that's going on in this state and why we are where we are. The COVID thing, the infrastructure, the public works that are going on that have sent us bankrupt.
You
And
think
It's just a situation that never goes away.
They often think, you know, like many of our politicians seem traitorous. They seem to behave in a way that's traitorous towards their own state or their own
Treacherous
country.
even.
Treacherous. That
Yes,
treacherous. There you go.
yes.
That's the word I'm looking for.
It
and
is.
you know, it's like maybe they had this hanging over Dan Andrews' head. You know, sense of like blackmail. Because, you know, we all know there's things like Epstein Island that operate. The main purpose of that was blackmail. So maybe with this accident, they knew that he hit him or his wife hit him. So they had this blackmail over him to kind of say, no, you're going to do this. You're going to create the world's longest lockdown. You're going to ruin the state. And because they have this case hanging over him. That's the thing that interests me about it because...
Well, it's not going
And now
away.
it's come out now he's left when now he's no longer any use to them. Now they throw him under the bus.
So, seeing as it's Christmas...
All good subjects.
What do you think? This bit of a soft, been pretty heavy there. So if you had to, I've got 4 Christmas songs on this phone. I want you to tell me if you had to nominate what do you think is the most popular Christmas song that is
I know
going
this.
around? You know what it is,
I
do
think
you?
it's Wham, right?
Well,
No, surely not. No way.
No,
No.
it's
Does it have to be a Christmas song? Yes.
Yeah, of course it's
All right.
Christmas.
Can I go with Bing Crosby?
Well, so you've mentioned two of them that I've got on here, but I don't think
Wow.
it is. I'm told.
White
I think
Christmas?
it's this one. Well, that's Bing Crosby. I think
Yeah.
it's this one. I hope this comes through or not. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Hang on. Hang on.
Delta? No, Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey. Is that meant to be the most popular, Suzanne?
Yes.
That's meant to be the most popular Christmas song. That's the most. And then
Your favourite, is it,
I
Sam?
think this. Well, no, this.
It's the ringtone.
This is my. No, this is not my second. This is very popular. Tell me who you think this is. Hang on. Oh no! Shit,
Oh,
no,
jeez.
hang on,
That's
no,
why it's
no,
popular.
hang
You
on,
keep
hang on,
playing
hang
it.
on, Hang on. Just a minute.
All the
How
all the
do I
Mariah,
get it up there?
all the Marie Carey hits here on.
How do I get it
You're
on to the
on,
next one?
You cannot be
come on,
serious.
help out.
Oh no, hang on. Here we go. Oh no, here we go. Here we go. Oh, Jesus, Sue.
Sam and technology.
You
Yeah.
bastard. No, that was it. Then this one. Hang on.
All right.
This is it. This. Tell me who this is. Hang on. Who's that?
Billy Ocean?
Fantastic. You don't know who that is.
No.
That is one of the great Christmas songs. That's Chris Rea.
Chris Rea.
Righto. Righto.
You've got me.
Bit before our time, mate.
Right,
Oh,
tell me
yeah.
who.
Oh, is it?
Tell me who this is.
He's around the 80s. We should know him.
Hang on, tell me who this is. Oh, hello. Christ, all recordings. Where am I? Where did I get to? Tell me who this is.
This is your one. Wham.
Yeah, it's
Surely.
Yeah.
Great song.
Yeah, it is good.
Righto.
All
That's,
right, yep.
George Michael and Wham.
Yeah, we love them.
And where would you put this one? Hang on now. Where am I going here? Just a minute. Stop that. Where would you put this one?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Number one, for sure.
I think number one, yeah.
Gotta be.
Number one.
Yep.
Bing.
Of course.
For
Would
sure.
you?
This should be our theme. Here.
Yeah,
So-
look,
It
seeing
should
as
be.
we don't have any snow here in the middle of summer, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. That's all we do is ever dream of a white Christmas. So
We don't
you'd have
actually
to
get
go
it.
with you'd have to go with Wham or Mariah.
Oh, I'll stick to Bing.
I wonder if she ever sang that to
To James.
James Packer. Well, maybe they were an item over one particular Christmas, and she might have sat him down while he's having just a light Beaujolais, and just sat in his knee and looked at him in the eyes and said, "What are the words to that song?"
Well, they've both moved on, haven't they? He looks like
Well, I
he's
think
sort of
they have moved on, yeah.
doing all right, and she looks like she's doing all right
Yeah,
over there.
Just a minute. Just a minute. I don't care about no presents. All I want is you.
Oh,
Do you reckon she ever sang that to him? You wouldn't know. Anyhow, there we are. That's a little taste of Christmas. So, have you got anything else to speak about, Ivan? Because this is
Well,
Christmas Day.
it is Christmas. What I brought in
we're
was
going to
too
put
heavy,
the great
I think,
Nikki
for
Whelan
today.
on. Have a chat to her later. Go on. What?
I thought it was a bit too heavy. We were
Heavy. Oh,
yeah,
gee,
very
after
heavy
what
for
we've been doing.
I saw Peter Dutton talking about his nuclear policy.
Yep.
And I saw the Labor Party already starting to get worried and shut it down. So I thought I'd check out how many countries around the world have a nuclear power plant. So these are some of the countries, and you think whether these countries are sort of better than Australia or not. So in Europe, you've got Albania, Serbia, and Lithuania. Africa, you've got Ethiopia, Rwanda, Kenya. the people that are trying to knock us off in the Middle East, Yemen and Syria, well, they're proposing they want to have a nuclear power plant.
Yep.
And then Central America, Bolivia. So not only the booger sugar, but they want to have a power plant as well.
Maybe the booger sugar paid for the power plant.
Probably. And the closest one to us in Indonesia. So Serpong.
Indonesia has nuclear power.
Yep, near Jakarta. So they've teamed up with the Americans.
Contrary to that, these are the worldwide coal plants. These are the... this is who has coal plants.
Yep.
The EU has 470 plants, and they're building 27 more for a total of 500. Well, that's 470 and 25 doesn't add up to 500, but that's about. Turkey has 56, and they're building 83 more. South Africa has 79. These are coal plants.
Yep.
Coal plants, and are building 24 more. India has 589 coal-fired power plants, and they're building 448 more. Philippines 19, and they're building 79. China has 2,360 coal-fired power plants, and they're building another 1,100 of them. And you talk about the
nuclear.
You talk about global warming and climate change, that all the stuff going into the air is stuffing up the world. Just that.
And how many do we have, Sam?
That's Australia is.
Well, they're trying to decommission them.
That's why this was. Australia is planning to shut down the remaining 6 plants in order to save the planet.
I know. I mean, we could double it.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That was the main point of me reading that out.
It is.
That we're
could have one.
Think about
closing down the 6 remaining ones in order to save the planet.
That's
what
bizarre.
I don't like about Dutton is that he shouldn't be buying into this nuclear thing at all. I mean, nuclear is mostly safe, but we all know it can go wrong. Look what happened in Fukushima. And but they should just be building more coal. I mean, what difference does it make if there's like thousands in China? If we have 6, why can't we have 12? Why can't we have 20? If we had 20, all our energy needs. Everyone has noticed our energy bill going up.
They say they can harvest the fumes that come out and dilute them and have it
Clean coal.
Clean coal. That's the new technology, Ivan.
Exactly.
I don't know how it works. It's like the
that would
thing
heat
in
up
your
the
car.
fumes.
What do you call that thing in your
Catalytic
car?
converter.
It's like a filter.
Absolutely like
Exactly
that.
what you call it,
It's a
Ivan.
filter.
Well done. So there we are. So
And
that's
we're abundant, aren't we, in coal?
abundant. I
Abundant.
see. There's advertisements for
The
the
most
coal
on Earth.
industry now. You can see them on the television saying, and when we came back from down the coast on our trip back on the ship, coming past all the
Power plants?
and all the areas where the ships go in to be. Port
Docks.
Kembla, all the
to be
ports
loaded with coal.
To be loaded with coal. There were hundreds of coal vessels and ships and container ships anchored, waiting to get loaded with coal to take to all parts of the world.
We send it to China and they burn it. Why can't we burn it here? I mean, and
Absolutely.
empower our own people. It's like, I mean, when Tucker Carlson was there, he really had a rave about this. And he said, whoever came up with your energy policy hates your country. Because having cheap energy is the beginning of a bountiful economy. And that's why Donald Trump's going to do it. He's going to bring back cheap energy because the American economy will then start booming rather than the inflation going through the roof and the country going down the gurgle the way it has under Biden.
Now this is the final.
The final rant.
He's going to take the Panama Canal. Have you heard
Do
this?
you agree with? I saw this on the a man's taken 15 years to write a children's book about Christmas, and someone interviewed him, and he said, "Well, it's taken you 15 years." He said, "Yep." He said, "I started out." He said, "And it just proves that you can do anything in this world if you want to. You can." I think it was. And I said, that is the most ridiculous that is the most overused, ridiculous statement. You can't do anything in the world if you want to. You can't be anything. He said, you can be anything you wish if you put your mind to it. And that is absolute nonsense, isn't it, if you think about it?
Yeah, it depends.
So why do people say that? You can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. That is absolute crap.
It's true, yeah.
It's
yeah.
they say to
Philosophically,
kids
it's
to try and push them, I guess.
Well, how about
try and
we don't
strive
fill
for
them up with
something.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's find something that you're good at and see if you can harness that.
Handle that.
If you, I likened it to me. I'd like to be a good golfer, but I'm no good at it. And it doesn't matter how hard I try, I'll never be a good golfer anymore. And they say, if you put your mind to it, you can be. I said, no, that's bullshit. I put my mind to it and I just can't do it.
Work out.
Yeah. Just
Been lying to me all these years.
that's right. That is exactly right.
Yep. I think it's, find what you're good at in life and then apply yourself to that. And then, with a bit of luck, you'll have some success.
Now, now this is just the final thing. We're just this Christmas Day, and I've got to get to
Yes,
mighty
lunches.
I haven't had a
probably
drink
burning.
for 17 years. I will still probably won't take the top off it. The drink anyhow. But I might ease the cork out for the people, the assembled gathering. This won't make any sense to anyone. If the duck was here, it would. But a little man called Mouse over in Western Australia. He rang me up to wish me all the best for the festive season. And he said he was down, and that's made quite a good point. He was down at the St Kilda Football Club. And there was, he went down there and there was people standing around the bar drinking, a couple of current players, and not current players, ex-players there for some Christmas fun. I don't know why he was there. And he walked in and he said, and when he walked into the St Kilda Football Club, the main foyer, there was a huge picture of Nick Whelan, who was a star, and there was a huge picture of someone else. I can't think of the other person, another good footballer, just of his era.
Of his ilk.
And he said he couldn't believe there wasn't a picture of Darryl Baldock, Alan Jeans, and Barry Breen up in the foyer of the club rooms. He said, why would you put those other two people up who were great players? But Darryl Baldock was the captain of their first ever premiership side in 1966. Alan Jeans was the coach of their first ever premiership side in 1966, and Barry Breen kicked the winning point in 1966 to give them the only premiership they've ever won, and they're not recognised in the foyer. And I said, Mouse, little Mouse, he's an annoying little man, but I said, Mouse, that is a very good point. I was going to ask the duck if he was here. What did he think about that? But that seems pretty good. Why wouldn't you have those two people up? The only silverware they've ever won.
It would be to placate the younger generation.
You think so?
They would know who Nick Whelan is. And
you reckon, Ivan, do you?
Yeah, I think you'll be right.
Absolutely, 100%. That's what it'd be. I agree. You should always remember where you've come from. So those people that Barry Breen, that you nominated, absolutely. But it, might be a hard pill to swallow, but they won't be able to identify with Darryl Baldock and Barry Breen.
Well, no, they wouldn't be able to identify with the three people that won them a premiership, the only one ever.
Yeah, I know, it's
unless
tough.
Unless they can massage is the wrong word, unless they can train up the women's football, the AFWL St Kilda football side, and they can win us some silverware. They can put that up amongst the men who have won it.
Don't be surprised.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, we won't be surprised. I bet they'll put the women up there. So you reckon that the youth of today who follow St Kilda wouldn't know who Darryl Baldock, and they mightn't, but wouldn't that be history to say these are the people that gave us our only moment of glory ever?
Of course,
Yep. Well,
it's strange
that's what I believe. Like, you might be able to see this firsthand if you go down to Geelong.
Yes.
Is there people there that, I don't know, say, yes, sir, how can I help you? Who are you? Do you
To me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair enough. I don't need to be recognised by people who are...
But that's what happens with generations. They move on slowly.
No, that's all right. No, that's all right. I don't want to be recognised by anyone necessarily. People who work at the football club and wouldn't know who I am. I don't expect them to do that. But if you walk into the main foyer area of a club that is only designed really an existence to win premierships, isn't it? To be successful.
Correct.
It'd be good to acknowledge the people that actually made you successful for the only time in its history.
Yeah.
And then someone would say, who are those people? And you'd sit there and you'd educate him. You'd say, well, that's Darryl Baldock, who was... He was one of the great footballers of all time and was the captain of our only premiership side, and there he is there.
And they'll say, oh, where's the photo of Nick Whelan?
Exactly.
Well, they can put a photo of Nick Whelan up in the behind the bar or up in another area, but when you walk in, the first thing this man said, this mouse, he's not a man really, he's just a rodent. You walk in, he said he just hit with this huge mural of, and this is not a slight on Nick Rewald, who was a fantastic man and a great player
And
But
commentator too.
He was just
Gobsmacked.
just gobsmacked. So there we are. So look, I reckon we've had 10 topics that we've talked about. 8 of them have been completely useless to talk about. We've managed to fill up 45 minutes doing it. So we're giving a shout out now. So here we are. It's what time is it? It's
Christmas Day.
Anyhow, it's getting on towards midday. We all got to rush off to our prospective areas to. So we might just do this, and then we'll put Nikki Whelan on as our the person I spoke to. I spoke to her a couple of days ago. And we'll say, if there are any other Christmas wishes that you'd like to give out, or any other comments you made, when you go away, I don't want you to say, Ivan, shit, I should have mentioned that, or whatever. And you, Dick, too. What about you?
Oh, Merry Christmas to everybody, all the listeners in the show, and Merry Christmas to the Black Sheep in Hawthorne, who helped us do the festival this year and did a great job. And they stock all products from Victoria, which I thought was a very noble thing to do. And if more businesses were to copy that, you would help businesses not only in Australia but in your local state.
So when you say they stock only business stuff from Victoria, what do you mean by that?
Well, like all the beer,
Beer.
for example, all the beer, but also like even the chips they came from like a local Victorian supplier.
the
all
chips.
the soft drink.
And what were the chips? They put in bags that were made in China, or
No,
they made their own bags, did they?
The guy has really sourced local stuff. Like he's actually made the guy Luke who runs the bar has made an attempt to really stock things that are made in Victoria, manufactured in Victoria. And I thought that was really nice, I mean, and you can imagine if someone owned a chain of pubs, if they were to do that, it would help the country and state.
Oh, no, well done.
Here we go.
All right, well, that's it. Is that
Well,
it, Ivan?
thanks to the doc for being on this year. Dougie as well.
Oh, Doug,
And,
I forgot to mention
Doug,
Doug,
yeah.
too.
Actually, as I was looking at those nuclear power plants,
Where they
there's
gonna put 'em?
there's one in
Footscray?
Ecuador.
Ecuador, that's right, Ecuador, Ecuador.
As Dougie would say.
Ecuador, yeah. All right, well, that's it. So, well done. And that we're signing off for, well, we'll be back before the new year, but we're signing off on Christmas Day.